Hey, this is Dennis again with the Impatient Creations, and I got a really exciting vehicle here. It's a 29 Pontiac Roadster, all electric. Stay tuned. We've got a beautiful little Pontiac Roadster here, a 1929 Pontiac Roadster that the owner brought to us initially to get the engine running and driving and stopping and get the brakes adjusted and all that so that he could drive it. This is his dad's car. He'll never sell it, and it is just a historical memory of his father. So what we wanted to do and what we did do is we got it running and driving, and then delivered it back to him. And we mentioned to him that what you need to be able to do now is to drive it once a week, maybe every other week, but no longer than that, because it's a updraft carburetor, and there's some things about it that are very, with the new fuels and everything, you just need to keep the gaskets and all of that stuff just right so that it'll work. And after about 3 years, he discovered that he wasn't going to be able to drive it often enough to keep the vehicle running. So he came to us after that third time and said, look, is there some way that I can enjoy this vehicle without all of this complicatedness of trying to keep this engine running? He said, I like the look of the engine, but if we got to change the engine, if we got to change what do we need to do to make the car function? And actually, Mark came up with an idea. Why don't we go electric? And he said, well, what do I need to do? How does that work? He said, well, you know, we've got to buy a motor of them, and there's several things we've got to do. And he said, let's do it. So here's what we did. We disconnected the transmission back, so it's gone. The engine is there because he can look at it. He can raise the hood, and he can show his buddies that there's the engine. But what we did from there back is we took the drive line out, the transmission and all of that out, and we replaced it with an electric motor. There were some things that he would not budge on. One is we have to keep the wood wheels. To keep the wood wheels, we got to keep the same brakes because you can't have one without the other. The brakes are what we call mechanical. Today, drums are hydraulic. These are mechanical, literally push down a pedal and a lever makes things move. So they're mechanical brakes. And what we did was, if we put it in an electric, we cannot have the torque. So we've got to be able to have a way of programming the torque on the motor. So all of this adds complicated or layers of complication to the project. So what we did is we got with a supplier of software and motors and all of that. We made an arrangement with them. We purchased the process and we put the motor in. They had to certify, and that's what we're working towards, is a certification for EV certification for building an EV build. We got all that put together, and then we used their software, and they programmed our controllers. So even if he presses all the way down on the pedal, and by the way, it's still got the original pedal, if he pushes all the way down on the pedal, the controller limits the amount of torque so that it will not harm the wood wheels. In addition to that, after he lets up off the accelerator, then it'll go in directly and immediately into regen, which has a slowing down effect. And if that doesn't work, then he can push on the brakes and the mechanic will begin the braking. And as he presses further, we have electric over hydraulic that will squeeze the brakes and make the disc and the rotor slow down. So that's how we do the stopping. Really a pretty ingenious process and project. We opened up, or we made the floorboard visible through a Lexan, clear Lexan, so that the viewers, including himself, can view the electrical pieces of it. So what we did is we exposed all of it so that you can see it and watch it work. So we're just glad to be able to present this to you, and we want you to stay tuned for the rest of the videos. Thank you very much.